All right, how y'all doing out there? Frank Red, once again, live and direct. Another edition of the New Dungeon Show. I want to thank you for joining me tonight, and I'm excited about this show because a lot is happening in the world of sports. More specifically, in the NBA, is where many of our listeners and viewers spend their time. But there are many other sports out there that we can talk about. Feel free to offer your opinions and comments, and we can get into it. But as I said, we will talk about what took place today. I actually felt a little cheated today by the schedule. We had one game between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic. It was an excellent game and thrilling. And I mean, I think the best thing about it was it put some of the young boys on the map. A lot of players that we generally don't see that are regimented to play on NBA TV or local programming got a national stage today. And certainly people know Donovan Mitchell, who has been doing big things for a long period of time. But coming off some pretty tough injuries, some knee injuries, he willed his Cleveland Cavaliers team to victory in 7 games over the Orlando Magic. And got to big up the Magic. I'm going to talk about Jamal Mosley because I honestly didn't know how good a coach he was. And watching him over the past 2-3 years, you got the sense that this dude was prepared for this opportunity. And I'm going to tell you why. There are some distinctive things that you look for in coaches. And he embodies many of those characteristics. And it's showing on the court. So we can talk about that particular game. 106-94. Cleveland Cavaliers winning 7 games. B.J. Bickerstaff, the head coach of the Cavaliers, I think he needed to win. If Cleveland had lost to Orlando, the perception would have been that Orlando is further along than Cleveland is. And that would not have been a good look for Cleveland's management, for their fans. And it would not have surprised me if he would have gotten fired. Would have been fair? Hell no. But the NBA is not a fair employment environment. We've seen that time and time again. We've seen it in Los Angeles. I think calmer heads will prevail in Phoenix. I don't think Frank Vogel will get fired. Who are you going to get? Who are you going to get to replace Frank Vogel? An NBA champion winning coach with his pedigree. It's really stupid. He didn't put the players together. He coached the players that he was given, and that's a bad mix. So I think Vogel will survive. I would have liked to have seen Darvin Ham keep his job, but as I said during the last broadcast, I wasn't sure that it was going to happen, particularly when you don't have the support of LeBron James. You're done. And, LeBron can come out and say, oh, I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So we're going to get into all of the machinations outside of what's happening on the basketball court. And we're going to talk about what's going to happen on the court starting tomorrow. My New York Knicks take on the Indiana Pacers at the Garden. That place is going to be rocking. And the series should go at least 6 games. Contrasting styles. I think the Knicks are better. I think both teams are probably a year ahead of schedule. And that's good because the future is always now. The future is not next year. The future is not in 2 years. The future is now. Remember, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant went to an NBA Finals in Oklahoma. I think they were all around 22 years old, but they went to an NBA Finals against Cleveland. Never went to another one. So everybody who's always talking, well, I don't want the Warriors can't give away their young players. We can't trade our players. The future is now. The future is always now. The great Vicky says, hi, Frank. Sometimes coaches get too much credit or blame, as the case with Coach Ham. He will land on his feet. Being a coach in Los Angeles is hard. Too much expectations if you coach or play in LA. Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. And but I think he probably knew what he was getting himself into. Darvin Ham's situation kind of reminds me of me getting my first high school job. And the first high school job that I got was a big job. It was at a major, D1 school. School had a lot of famous athletes. And ironically, I was prepared to do the job. And I don't think Ham was totally ready for that job in terms of how you function as a coach. He had some strong points that he just needed to develop. But my first head coaching job, I lasted 2 years. Darvin Ham lasted 2 years. And the reason why I lasted 2 years, in retrospect, is because I was very young and I didn't understand the politics of the job. The coaching aspects, I was shocked how smooth a transition it was for me to move into a varsity head coaching position at a very prominent job. But it was the politics of the job that I didn't quite understand. And politics are never fair. And I think Darvin Ham kind of got a little delusion about his safeness in that position. He clearly needed another year of experience. And I would have wanted to keep him personally. But I understand, like you said, Vicky, it's tough in Los Angeles. It's a star market. And you're coaching LeBron. No player, in my opinion, has decided the fate of more coaches than LeBron James. Nobody. It's tough. Now, like you said, he's going to land on his feet. I hope he will. I landed on my feet pretty well with the help of a really good friend of mine who had some relationships with another school that kind of fit where I was at that point in my career. And I got a job, another head coaching job. I've had 4. And within 3 years, I had taken a private school, great school, that had never been to the playoffs in its existence. I took them to the playoffs in 3 years. And I love the school, would have been there forever. Unfortunately, some more politics kind of got in the way. But I had the opportunity to affirm what I knew, which is I know basketball, I know how to coach, and I was ready for that position. I'm not quite sure Darvin Ham was. I would have loved to have seen him maybe get a job with a younger team. So that's my take on that. I also want to hear what you guys think is a good assistant. We always hear these catchphrases. Oh, such and such is one of the best assistants in the NBA. Such and such is one of the best assistants in college basketball. What the hell does that mean? Because I've seen coaches get jobs, right? And look totally out of place, get fired. Now, maybe they didn't have the support, but this is serious business. When you get these jobs, again, I keep telling you, the future is now. You don't have tomorrow. I mean, how ridiculous is this? Adrian Griffith got fired after 43 games, having a 30-13 record. He was replaced by another black man, Doc Rivers, who ultimately had an 18-22 record. That's cold-blooded. It kind of shows you the environment. You're talking about sharks. SG says, hi, Frank. And how am I doing? I'm doing fantastic because I'm talking to people like yourself. I have the luxury of doing something that I love to do, which is talk sports to a intimate group of folks that take their personal time to listen to me, to comment to a program that I'm hosting. I'm on cloud nine, brother. My man Jimmy says, I think Darvin Ham will get another opportunity somewhere else. He exhibited great leadership skills, I think. I think that kind of mentor coach thing, he kind of had that going on. And that's a good look for him. But that's probably number 3 on the list that you got to have. You know, Steve Kerr's not that guy. I don't think Kerr is that type of coach. It's important, but these are professionals. These players are getting paid millions of dollars. That needs to be affirmed from the start. You have to go in there and establish how you're going to help them get better. And if that means going against what someone else thinks, that's not the head coach, so be it. Go into the job knowing that you're going to get fired. It's okay. You know, you get fired, you wake up the next day, it's okay. Show that you know what you're doing. I'm going to get into, Jamal Mosley. I'm going to tell you why. Because one of the things that I don't like about sports talk radio or any type of informational show that I'm listening to, someone, or even like on X, someone will make a statement, right? And don't give you any explanation why. Just make a statement. It's lazy. It's unfair to your listeners or to people who are engaging with you. All right. Jamal Mosley. Jamal Mosley, longtime assistant with the Dallas Mavericks under Rick Carlisle, part of a championship staff. A couple of things he did in Orlando. Number one, he talks with empathy in his voice. There's a lot of empathy. And passion is one thing, but being empathetic to your players, to your organization, to your coaches is really, really important, because what it does is it inspires people to give you more. And that's important when you have to make tough decisions. For example, Jalen Suggs didn't start until year 3. There were some people out there that looked at Jalen Suggs and was like, dude's a flop. I loved him. So I never thought that he was a flop. I actually wanted Toronto to draft him. And I think for their team, Scotty Barnes was the right player. But I was really happy for Orlando when they got Jalen Suggs. But what Jamal Mosley did was he said, okay, I can throw this kid out there right now. His game is a little off balanced, but he's really talented. But I'm going to teach him how to play. And I'm going to make sure that he develops a game and he understands that when you play on the court, it's because you have earned those minutes. You know how courageous you have to be to do that as a head coach? With no experience, with no head coaching experience? With not a whole lot of support or history in winning from management? He did that. The other thing that he did was he developed a definitive style of play. Orlando gets after it. They play like the Indiana Pacers. Oh, Jamal Mosley was an assistant for Rick Carlisle. Right. He's a student of the game. He didn't have to go down to Orlando and try to figure out how he was going to play basketball. He knew what he wanted to do. And that's how they play. Orlando plays like Indiana. They get it up and down. That style of play is ingrained in their culture. The last thing that he's done, and there are more things that I've evaluated him and I've watched him, he's very consistent. He is very, very consistent in terms of everything that he does. The moment is not too big for him. So he's an A student. Give him all the credit in the world. He went down to Orlando and actually made that place a destination. And I got to give the general manager credit also for drafting some good players. Wagner, Banchero. I mean, they could have taken Chet, and Chet would have been fine. But I think Paolo Banchero is a better player in that organization than maybe Chet would have been. And I like Chet. So I salute Coach Mosley because that's how it's done. I've always told you all that coaching is 3 times as hard as playing. Players don't believe it until they start coaching. And then all of a sudden they have to use vocabulary. They have to be able to actually diagram plays. You know? They have to be able to run a practice. Coaching is an art. I love coaching. I mean, I love playing also. But I recognize the impact of coaching. I played for great coaches. Tom Penders, my college coach at Fordham, is a Hall of Famer. I remember we was a freshman. I remember I was a freshman, and we played in the Alaska Shootout, the old Alaska Shootout. We won 2 games. We beat Alaska. Well, first game that we won was we beat USC. Fordham University has no business beating USC in a tournament. We beat them by like 15. Why? Coaching. Coaching. That's why we won. Fundamentals, coaching, toughness. We had a plan. And then we beat Alaska Anchorage. We beat them. So there's a lot going on while the games are happening. And while we feel sorry for coaches losing their jobs sometimes, we have to be real that this is the Lions' den. And when you get those opportunities, you need to be ready. I know I could have been a head coach at college level. I know I could have been. The great Vicky says, a good assistant is someone who can be a good listener and a liaison between the players and the head coach. Yeah, those are some characteristics, no doubt about it. But I think you need to be able to do everything the head coach can do also. Great job, Vicky. Man, Jimmy says, great assistants give the head coach the information they need to make good decisions. Yes, that's one role of a great assistant. No question. And when you do that, the head coaches take notice. You know, I love to see timeouts. I love to see who the head coaches are listening to. One of the things that I did not want when I was in my own mind thinking about maybe having pursuing a college coaching career, the quote recruiter. A good assistant is a guy who's a great recruiter. No, that's a great recruiter. Doesn't necessarily have anything to do with coaching. You need to be able to recruit, but if your only responsibility is to recruit, or be chummy with players, you need to get the hell out of there real fast. My man Dre says, Anthony Edwards has been the best player in the playoffs and is the best player in the series against Denver at age 22. Listen, Dre, thank you for your comments. I don't know if you've been listening for a long period of time, watching the show, but on my last show, I said this. This is not hyperbole. I said Anthony Edwards is as good as Michael Jordan was at 22. I'm going to say it because it's true. This dude, his ball handling skills are as good as Michael's. As good. His mid-range is not as good, but it's good. Right? I mean, I don't know if he's a better long ball shooter. Mike can shoot as many, but he can shoot the long ball. He got a nice little post-up fadeaway game. This dude is, to me, and I was thinking about this last night. Yeah, they probably want Victor Wembanyama. I mean, you need multiple stars to kind of carry your league. But Anthony Edwards is the guy. You know, he had a hiccup, you know, in the middle of the season. There was some stuff out there that wasn't the most positive about him. But this dude is a star of the league. He combines the fundamentals of basketball. He's a leader. And he got that AI swag, man. You know, he's going to, I mean, I don't know what sneaker he wears, but he's going to sell a hell of a lot of sneakers. You're spot on, Drake. Anthony Ant-Man Edwards is the real deal. SG says, what was the reason behind naming your channel In the Dungeon? Okay. When I was on KHTK, which is you know, the blowtorch up in Sacramento, you know, all of the shows were, you know, pretty traditional sports talk shows. I'm a hip hop head, so I've been a hip hop head for a long period of time. I was an artist. You know, some of my favorite groups are like Gang Starr, and I wanted things to be grimy. You know, I wanted to be the antithesis of what everybody was listening to on KHTK. So when I think of something being a little grimy, you know, untraditional, I think of a dungeon. So I named it In the Dungeon Show. And the rest is history, you know. People up there were great. I got so many friends up there. It's awesome. But it worked. It worked. People liked it. And over a period of time, I was number one. So, and now you got other people of color up there crushing it. D-Lo, my man. I mean, you know, I love it, man. Trey says, imagine if we had Anthony Edwards instead of James Wiseman for the Warriors. Both was in the same track. Yeah. I try not to think of that, Dre, because it makes me look bad. I've said numerous times that I didn't think he was going to be what he is right now. I didn't. I thought he'd be good. I thought he averaged 20 points a game. Maybe not this fast. But I didn't see the leadership skills. I didn't see the completeness of his game. You know, the Warriors won a championship in 2002. I guess maybe, I don't know what the Warriors would have done, but he's better than Clay, right? So you know at some point Clay would not have been in there. As good as Clay is, the Warriors kick themselves every day. Let's be honest. Every day they kick themselves. What a great player. And I'm going Knicks in 7 games. I'm gonna say 6. I'm gonna say 6 games. But it can be 6 the other way. But one of the great things about the playoffs now in the NBA is many of these coaches are championship coaches. Thibodeau won a coach as an assistant of the Boston Celtics orchestrating their defense. And Doc didn't even coach defense. Tom Thibodeau ran Boston's defense, one of the best defensive units that we've seen in the past 20 years. Rick Carlisle is a championship coach. You know, I love it. I love it. Vicky says Ken Atkins is up for a few jobs. Coach's tree. Atkinson. Yeah, you know what? It's interesting, you know, because he clearly can teach. You know, I thought he did a great job with the Brooklyn Nets. He has all of the fundamentals of a head coach. I think he needs the right job. Like the Orlando job probably would have been pretty good for him. But this is a crazy business. I mean, he gave up. He was awarded the Charlotte job and then said, no, I don't want it. The owners in the NBA are really prickly. And you might think that they're in contrast with each other, but they're not. These are all billionaires. And I don't know if that will have any adverse effect on Kenny Atkinson maybe getting another head job. I hope it doesn't, because he's a real talented guy. I agree with you, Vicky. The 49ers assistants have gotten head coaching jobs, so having great head coaches helps make great assistants. Again, it depends on what you are doing. You know, if you are an assistant coach and I mean you're opening the doors, or you're the third defensive back coach, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, as a coach, to be quite honest, if you're being taught, if you're being mentored, if you're being prepared for something bigger. Shanahan and John Lynch, I think, both have done incredible jobs. They don't get enough credit for that. But you look at the executives that John Lynch's tree has produced. There's been multiple. And Shanahan runs one of the more sophisticated offenses in the NFL. But beyond his expertise of offense, he just functions as a head coach. Ryans was not an offensive guy. He was a defensive coordinator. But he functions as a leader. You know, as a leader of men or women, it doesn't really matter. He just functions as a head coach. So I agree with you, Vicky. I think if you aspire to be a head coach, I would want to work for the top person, the top organization, because you're going to learn something. You know, there's no doubt about it. SG says, dungeons scare me because I associate horror movies with dungeons and everything. Well, mine was a friendly dungeon, so you don't have to be scared of my dungeon. I would not want to be locked in a dungeon because, I don't think anybody would. All right. So the Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers. Contrasting styles, Indiana led the league in scoring. The Knicks have one of the best half-court defenses in the NBA. It's not simple, but the Knicks have to execute their defensive game plan, which is to get back on defense and build that wall. You know, they're going to build a wall on Indiana, and they're going to make Indiana make outside shots. Because I guarantee you, all of those drives, you know, like I said before, the McConnell drives, the Halliburton and all that crap. Isaiah Hartenstein, and Mitchell Robinson, they're going to clean all that crap up. Anunoby, OG Anunoby, he can guard anybody on Indiana. Obviously, they're going to start him on Siakam. It wouldn't surprise me if he guards Halliburton at times. I just think the Knicks have a better defensive team. And when I look at a series, I think defense wins. I think that's why the Knicks beat Philly. Ultimately, it's defense, and we're going to take it one step at a time. But I think the Knicks should come out on top. The matchup between the point guards is going to be outstanding. Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton, both are all-star caliber players. I don't think that, Nesbitt, I guess, is their Josh Hart, but he's really not Josh Hart to me. I just think the Knicks have more versatile players. So I'm interested in your thoughts about that. The Cleveland Boston Celtics series, 5 games. The Jarrett Allen thing is kind of weird. Because even with Jarrett Allen, I don't think Cleveland could beat Boston. But, when you start hearing messages like, we think a player might play and then he doesn't play, that opens up a whole lot of stuff. And I don't think it's far-fetched to infer that maybe Cleveland thought that Jarrett Allen was going to give it a go today. And he didn't. Unfortunately, they didn't need him. But keep an eye on that. I was talking to a really good friend of mine over the past couple of days about some potential draft partners with the Golden State Warriors. And Jarrett Allen came up. What do you think? I like Jarrett Allen. I don't know how good he is. He's not the biggest center. He's 6'10", plays a little bigger than that. But does he make the Warriors better? Because I don't know if Trey Jackson Davis is ready to start right now. I don't know if he is. The Warriors don't have a first-round pick. Would you trade Kuminga for Jarrett Allen? I'm sure a lot of people are like, red hell no. But this team has to get better. That's one of the names out there that I think is going to be bantied about a little bit. What are some tips you would give the Knicks if they want to win the series over the Pacers? Get back on defense. Get back on defense. Play defense without fouling. All right? If you're not getting back on defense, it's because you're lazy. There is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't get back on defense. The Knicks half-court defense is phenomenal, and they rebound really, really well. Isaiah Hartenstein's a good rebounder. OG Anunoby is a good rebounder, good offensive player. The Knicks are better. Is Denver going to beat the upstart Mavericks? Well, they got to play. Well, they got to get by. They have to get by the Timberwolves first. They're down 1 game. I think the Mavericks will beat OKC. I think that will happen. I think Denver will beat Minnesota, and I thought it was going to be 6 games, but maybe they go 7. I think Denver is going to win. And the reason why, because I think it's going to go back to the one fatal flaw that I think Minnesota has: point guard play. Michael Conley Jr. is a good open shooter. He's not the best playmaker. And I think it's going to come down to a quintessential play that's going to have to be made. If I am an opposing coach, I'm taking my ego out of it. I'm not going to do it every play in every game, but I'm doubling Anthony Edwards. There's no way in hell I'm letting that guy go from coast to coast and dance on my team like that. The only place that I'm not doubling him is the top of the key extended. And I'm not doubling him in the corners, late shot clock, but elbows, foul line extended, I'm running the guy at him every time. Because I don't think they have the other players to score like he can. Now you might go, yo, Cat can score. Well, let me see it. If Cat beats me, then I can probably accept that. I cannot accept literally the best player in the NBA right now, Anthony Edwards, beating me. I'm not going to let that happen. Double that gig. You guys disagree? Come on. I know you agree. Jimmy says, for anyone interested in comedy, I just saw the Tom Brady roast on Netflix. Oh, it's good. Okay. Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate that. DJ Vanas. Frank, I'd rather give Trey Jackson playing time and get that experience over Jared Allen. Yeah. I can see that. But one of the things that I had a problem with Jackson Davis actually started to rear its head at the end of the year. He doesn't shoot over 70% from the free throw line. And Jared Allen doesn't either. They're probably similar, but Jared Allen puts up better numbers. I think he's a better offensive player right now. He goes to the line more. But Jackson Davis, if he wants to start, he has to shoot 75% from the free throw line. He has to, and he doesn't do that right now. The other thing about Jackson Davis is he has to be a lot more physical. He's not physical enough. He's not. There's no way that Draymond Green at 6'6", 6'7", should be more physical than Jackson Davis. Jackson Davis is 23 years old. It's like, what are you? Don't be afraid, dude. Do not be afraid. Be a physical force inside, because I think he's big enough to play center. Jared Allen is an established NBA center. Now, this whole experiment of Jared Allen and Eric Mobley playing together, I don't know, man. Mobley looks like a center to me, particularly on defense. I think they need to cut out that foolishness, get him some wings. They got Matt Scrooge. Get another guy in there who can score and let him play in the box, because I think he's excellent. Vicky says, I don't want the Warriors to trade just to trade. I need somebody who can help Steph. TJD can play defensive basketball. However, I don't know if he can be their first line center. Yeah, Vicky, I agree with you. He hasn't shown me that he can. He hasn't really shown us what we need to see from a center who's going to be a top 10 guy, because the bigs in this league are getting better really fast. Like, for instance, he needs to be able to shoot the foul line jump shot. I mean that opportunity jump shot when they lay off of him and drop coverage, he needs to be able to make that shot. And maybe he will never develop that, but the well-roundedness of his game, we need to see that. We're probably not going to see it in 1 year. But when you look at the Warriors are never in a situation where they're comfortable not thinking that they can't challenge for for a championship. And I want people to understand that challenging for a championship means making the playoffs. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you're going to win the championship. It means that you're in the playoffs. I think a lot of fans sometimes get confused. They say, this team can't win a championship. Well, go play. Maybe you're right. Nobody thought Minnesota was going to be down 0-1, although maybe some of you did. But all of this juggernaut talk with the Denver Nuggets, I'm like, I watch basketball. Part of the reason why Darvin Ham is getting fired is because the consensus is, from a talent perspective, Denver was not that much better than the Lakers. They think that Denver had a considerable advantage on the sideline. Otherwise, they would not have fired Darvin Ham. They think that the Denver players are more intellectual, more intuitive than the Lakers players. Collectively, not individuals. There's no player that was smarter than LeBron. But the cohesiveness of Denver's team appeared to be better than the Lakers. I think they were better. That's why Michael Malone, he didn't call timeout in the games. He didn't. They got whatever they wanted to get, and they won games because of it. Conversely, from a defensive perspective, the Lakers were not prepared. They were not prepared to go to their end-of-game defense. They didn't have an end-of-game defense. And I think that kind of caught some of the players off guard, and ultimately that was a factor in Darvin Ham getting fired. Is it fair? Hell no, it's not fair. If you pick any celebrity to roast, who would it be? I don't have a lot of friends like that, dude. I don't. It's not something that I would have to know you really, really well to delve deep into your your pressure points. I can't imagine. I don't know. Because I'm a good writer, so I could probably come up with some good stuff. But I don't have a celebrity that I would want to roast. Who would you want to roast? That'd be interesting to kind of get your perspective. Maybe you can bounce something off of me, and I could help me kind of visualize something. Vicky says the Lakers did not play as a team. That's why they lost. I agree. But I think the core conversation, Vicky, is in some respects, they were not prepared. That's the narrative. That's the unspoken narrative. And I don't particularly like that because I think sometimes players have the ability to make their coaches look good. And one of the statements that you always hear, and I can say it myself, we stole one. We stole one means most of the time your players play better than you thought they were going to play. The Lakers didn't steal anything. And that frustrates me because I think it frustrates a lot of people also. LeBron is not the type of person to take responsibility like from the jump. He doesn't generally do that. I mean, I don't think he deflects it, but he doesn't take responsibility for the whole organization. And his power is unbelievable. I think some people kind of have a problem with that. Because again, in those situations when you're on the floor and you're a player like a LeBron James, you are the coach at that point. It's not the guy on the sideline. No, you are the coach. You see various Warriors, particularly like Draymond Green. A lot of time when Draymond's on the court, he's orchestrating what's happening. It's not Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is dictating what takes place in timeouts. But on the court, the Warriors have the ability to instantaneously morph into what they need to morph into at that particular time. And that's because of the players. It wins championships. The reason why Doc Rivers is a NBA champion is because of Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Rajon Rondo. They were not going to allow him to fail. I love that. I love it when players say, we're not going to lose this game. That's why Jordan, to me, is just like, how many times did Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen say, we not losing this game? Magic Johnson, the most iconic pitcher, and I know some of you are probably too young to remember this, one of the most iconic pitchers etched in everybody's mind, I think goes back to 1987. The Lakers are playing the Boston Celtics. Tough game. I don't know if it was game 4, 5, 6. I don't remember. But it was at the Boston Garden. Magic Johnson Magic Johnson has the ball. He's dribbling the ball, kind of like on the right post. He's looking down at the opposite basket to check the clock, right? With his other hand, he's in connection with Pat Riley, kind of waving at Pat Riley, telling him, yo, it's okay. I got this. I mean, can you imagine the nervousness and the energy of that moment? He's looking at the clock. He's letting Pat Riley know, Pat, chill. I got this. At the most opportune time, Magic goes to the lane and rolls up his baby hook. Swish, the Lakers win. I mean, one of the most iconic shots. I mean, Michael Jordan's shot over Byron is, to me, the greatest shot that we've seen. But Magic Johnson's baby hook against the Celtics to crush them at that particular moment is up there with one of the all-time great shots in the history of NBA basketball. Vicky says, I want to roast Draymond. That would be funny. You think he could take it? You think Draymond could take it? That would be funny. Talk about the material that people have. Oh, man. SG says, I would like to roast LeBron James. You know what? I think Draymond could probably take it better than LeBron. I can't imagine LeBron taking it because there's so many quirks that LeBron has. I mean the flopping, you know, not one, not two, not three, there's so many things that people could delve into with regards to LeBron that I think would just irk him to death. I don't know if he'll ever be roasted. Those are two great choices, y'all. Thank you. Vicky says, the Clippers didn't play as a team, and neither did the Suns. The Clippers might be in trouble. They might be in trouble because they got a brand new arena. You don't know when Kawhi's coming back. As an intelligent human being, you can't ridiculously overpay for Paul George and James Harden. You can't do it. There's a number that you got to focus on, and you got to stick to that number. You've already given Kawhi a 3-year extension for $50 million a year. I'm not paying James Harden or Paul Pierce more than $35 million a year. And I know you're probably saying, Red, I'm not paying either one of those guys $35 million a year. I think you have to. I think if you give both of those guys 3-year deals at $100 million, 105, 110, that's kind of where you are. I think you're kind of stuck because there's a level of experience and professionalism that you pay for, particularly when you have a brand new arena and you're trying to put butts in the stands and you want them to see players that they know, that they are emotionally attached to. Somebody has to put the Clipper uniform on. And they won 51 games last year. It's not like they're not going to win games. They're going to win games. So, yeah, I think 30 to 35 million is probably where you want to land with those guys. If they can negotiate a contract bigger than that, I wouldn't do that. I would not do it. I would let them go get the money. And maybe there's some other organizations out there that's going to pay Paul George 40, 50 million, Philly, somebody like that. I mean, yo, man, at some point you got to make a decision and you got to move forward. I would like to roast Stephen Curry. Be kind of boring to me. I mean, he don't really curse. I mean, what has he done? He hasn't done anything wrong. The only thing you could get on Steph about his defense. you could roast the hell out of him by his defense. Like, that's what Clay wants, a big bad. Yeah, again, I think Clay is 25, 30 million. I don't have a problem with Clay making $30 million a year. I don't. I would want to do 2 years with third year, option, some type of buyout deal. I would want him in line with Stephen and Draymond, but I don't have a problem with him making $30 million a year, coming down from $43 million. I mean, $13 million less, it's not nothing. And again, when you look at these veteran players that are still going to play big minutes, you pay for that. You pay for that experience. You pay for that. You pay for that professionalism. I saw something online today that really resonated with me. A lot of Warrior fans always talk about their young players and how they don't want to give their young players up. When you look at Kuminga, Jackson Davis, Moses Moody, and Brandon Podzinski, if any of those guys were playing ridiculous minutes, like if that team started those 4 guys, how many games do you think the Warriors would win? 15 games? That's what a lot of fans, a lot of people that don't know basketball, they don't get. Are you willing to stomach that? This collection of young Warrior players, they're talented. They're not necessarily good collectively. They need the veterans, and the veterans need them. They're not there yet. And the Warriors have to literally pull a rabbit out of their hats over the next year or two and go and get a star. They have to do it. I'm not convinced Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a superstar. I'm just not. His temperament doesn't necessarily lean in that direction. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be a part of a good collective. But being the number one guy, I don't know if he has the personality to take upon that level of responsibility. It's a lot. I mean, you look at it like Shea Gillis, Alexander. Dude is never bothered. I mean, he's a guy who his teammates love. They flock to him. He's a young guy. Why? Because of his level of consistency. Not only as a player, but as a person. Which is why he has a $175 million contract, a max deal. Because they can count on him. Is Kuminga that guy? You think you can do that with Jonathan Kuminga? I haven't seen it. You should watch the comedy sketch of Mike Epps roasting Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. I mean, if I run into it, then maybe I will. But SG, I'm not one of these comedy guys. I'm not. That's not who I am. I like comedy, but that stuff doesn't really interest me. I'm sure it's funny, but I'm not as excited about that. People are saying that the Warriors should get KD back. I hope. I would explore it. I mean, I personally would. I think KD has a couple of good years left. He doesn't have to be the leader of the team with the Warriors, which is why he thrived. And I think it's why I think he missed or he devalued that wonderful space that he was in, where the Warriors took all of that responsibility from him. He could just go out and play basketball. From Phoenix's perspective, they get a chance to clean up the books. because they got a lot of money out there. They can't make any trades. They can't do anything. Now, if you get KD back, what are you giving up? Obviously, Andrew Wiggins, but he doesn't make enough money, so you're going to give up somebody else. Maybe you, Andrew Wiggins, and you include Chris Paul's contract and a future first-round pick. That's about it. That's all the Warriors can do. And from Phoenix's standpoint, they would be saying, we're going to take a step back, right? We're going to get our books in order, right? Get our salary cap situation under control. And we're going to go out and draft some players who's going to help us over the next decade. It's very sensible to me. Because the combination of Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, it's not going to work. So, Vicky, you got to explain. You said you hope not. Tell me, why not? Why not? Why wouldn't you want Kevin Durant on the Warriors next year? Certainly an upgrade. Love to hear your answer. That Dallas Mavericks OKC series, who do you like? I mean, I think 6 games, but it's no way I can see Jason Kidd losing to that team. No way. No way. Dallas is too big. They're too old. I mean, they're older and they're tougher. And they got 2 of the top 10 scorers in the NBA. Dallas is a sleeper team that can win the NBA championship, y'all. I didn't necessarily see that coming, but every time I watch them play, I can't think of his name right now, but losing one of their players is big. But when you look at the combination of Lively and the other center they have, they're long and they got scorers. Any 3 of those teams, Denver, Minnesota, and Dallas, are all good. OKC, they're talented, but they're just too young. They're just too young. They're not going to win. Vicky says, at this point, the Warriors' books will never be fixed. They're going to be fixed. What's going to happen in 2 or 3 years? The second that Stephen Curry is no longer on the team, all those contracts are aligned, Vicky. All of them are. They're going to get fixed. And the Warriors won't have any players. Maybe they'll have a couple of young guys, maybe Kuminga. But, people don't want to talk about the business. This team was purchased for $450 million, and now they're worth $7.5 billion. So, in spite of the corporate tax and all the other crap, the Warriors have done very well at the gate. That's part of the game. And a lot of times you hear people saying, well, we don't want to pay a luxury tax if we're not in the playoffs. Yeah, okay, we'll see. We'll see. Try showing up at Chase without Steph Curry there. Try showing up with Steph Curry with a bunch of nickels. See how happy your fan base is then. Jimmy says, I think Dallas plays Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals, but Keebler is out. Yeah, I don't know how long Keebler's going to be out. No, Jimmy, right now, Denver is playing Minnesota in the semifinals. Dallas is playing OKC. The winners of those 2 series make it to the championship. So, it's fluid. But Dallas is playing OKC. Denver is down 0 games to 1 to Minnesota now. And you're right. the player that's out is Keebler, and he's decent. Keebler made some big shots to vanquish the LA Clippers. Good player. And Vicky says Dallas is better than people think. Yes. And part of it, Vicky, I think is, Jay Kidd is starting to get some respect. I always knew he was a good coach because he's a great leader. And his ability to systematically communicate and articulate what's in that big brain of his, I think has gotten better over a period of time. He's around a bunch of brainy people. I'm sure Cuban helps him with that. He has a good assistant staff. He has a good staff. So I think things in which he might not be very strong in, he's getting better. But in leadership, in terms of establishing and maintaining accountability, you're just not going to find many people who are better than that than Jason Kidd. Just not. Let me say this publicly. Can I come on the show? All right. Okay. You got to get rid of that zaniness stuff, dude. If you want to come on the show, I'll let you come on the show, but we're going to talk sports. We're not going to do all that crazy stuff. So the people will let me know when it's time for you to get on. All right? Plus, he owns the arena. You're thinking Joe Lacob, right? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Right. All those bands. I mean, come on, man. Crazy. Jimmy says, I think Dallas beats OKC and Minnesota beats Denver and they played in the West Conference Finals. Yeah, that could happen. That could happen. I still think Denver is going to win that series. I don't think this is quite Minnesota's year. Wouldn't surprise me if I'm proven wrong. But if I was betting, I would still say Denver's going to win this series. I just think that their veteran guys will be too much for Minnesota. I mean, think about it. We saw Gobert hit a 12-foot jump shot that hit the backboard and went in. They were a little lucky in game one. Let's be honest. They were a little lucky in game one. Michael Malone came out and said to his starters, why are you getting off to a slow start? So he really ripped them a new one and said, what are you doing? So I expect Denver to come out fast and hungry and ready to go. And I also expect them, from a defensive perspective, to double Ant-Man. They're not going to let this dude just drive all over the court. If he can beat two guys, then he's on a whole nother level. And I'm not saying he can't. He's fabulous to watch. What adjustments do you think Malone makes? Just like I said, I think first and foremost, you got to come out with more energy. Maybe extend his defense a little bit. Now, I don't think he wants to do that too much with those veteran guys. But I think priority number one is doubling Anthony Edwards at the elbows. You can't allow him to kind of back in and turn and get into his shot. I would double him right away at the elbows. I would play some zone against Minnesota also, particularly late in the shot clock. Maybe like have some triggers where 7 seconds to go in the 24 shot clock, they morph into a zone, extend their defense. I would increase the physicality, because I don't think Minnesota's very physical. I don't. I don't think Gobert is. Cat is not very physical. And Edwards is only 6'5". So I would inflict our veteran and physical will on Minnesota to have them show us that they're ready for this moment, because I don't quite think that they are. So that's what I would do. Double Anthony Edwards. I would play some zone, and I would be more physical than they were in game one. So we'll see what happens. I wanted to talk about Pat Bev. And I'm sure most of you all are familiar with transpired. Was that on? I'm not quite sure what day that was, but it's almost an old story now. But Patrick Beverly got into a spat with some people in the stands who were probably saying some not too nice things to him. He took it to heart and threw a ball in the stands. You can't do that. You're getting paid millions of dollars to de-escalate those types of situations. They threw it back at him. He threw it again. I guess I don't know if he hit anybody. I mean, they said that he hit somebody in the head. I don't know. Maybe he did. It was wrong. He should not have done it. I want to fast forward to the locker room where he's talking to, I guess, an ESPN producer. And he says she wants to ask him some questions about the game and probably what happened on the sideline. And he goes, "Do you subscribe to my podcast?" And she goes, "No." He says, "Well, then you can't interview me then." Which is, I mean, what? What's going on? Are you out of your mind? She quickly responded on her feet, and I guess had like her co-producer or whomever said, "Well, he does, and so I guess we can do the interview." She proceeded to move her mic closer to Pat Bev, and Pat Bev said, "Can you get the mic away from me? You can't do this." Now, a lot of these producers and people in locker rooms, they don't give a crap about these athletes outside of getting their jobs done. These professional athletes sometimes have a grandiose outlook or impression of themselves when they're working with people in the business. And the reality is, the people in the business are just trying to do their jobs. Now, I don't think Pat Bev should be defined by a couple of stupid things that he's done in his career, and might be more than that. This is a biggie, though. Will he get another opportunity to play in the NBA at 35? Diminishing returns. I don't know. If he wants to play, I would hope that he would get another opportunity just so he could right a wrong and show that this is not who he is as a person. Because a lot of people at this point are like, who is this guy? They don't know this guy's grinded out a career for 13, 14 years, played in Russia, played in every country. For this to be your defining moment, it's god awful. And I hope that's not his legacy. But what I wanted to talk about was this. Pat Bev took away somebody's humanity. That woman was just doing her job. That's it. Two people doing their jobs. And he didn't give her the opportunity to do her job. And I remember when I was 13 years old, it made me think this morning after I was working out. When I was 13 years old, I used to caddy at a golf course in New York on Long Island. I was actually too young to work. I was only 13. You're supposed to be 15. My mother lied and told the caddy master that I was 15 when I was only 13 years old. After about a month, I started carrying, after I learned, it's probably maybe 2 months, 3 months, about 2 months. After I started to learn the basics of the game, I realized that people who were carrying 2 bags made double what I was making. And the people who were carrying 2 bags were adults. are young teenagers. I'm 13. I started carrying 2 bags, and I had foursomes. I didn't know anything about like ethnicities or things of that nature. This happened to be a Jewish club. And as a 13-year-old, the names were hard for me to remember and pronounce, but that was really big. Rheingold, Rosenberg, Steinfeld, Reuben, you know. So what I would do is before we went out, before we started, I would tell them, I would say, listen, excuse me, sir, my name is Frank. And I said, well, what is your name? I'm 13. I remembered everybody's name. And they said, okay, Frank, great to work with you. And literally, after the first hole, they went from calling me Frank to calling me Caddy. And I would always correct them. I would say, no, sir, my name is Frank. I'm 13. But at that point, I still had my humanity. And I almost got in trouble a couple of times. I didn't care. And I'm sure from their perspective, they were like, this kid's a little different. Yeah, I am different. My name is Frank. I got to remember all of your names. Please remember my name. And it's probably not the best analogy, but I think what I'm getting to is this common respect. And that's all that was between Pat Bev and this producer. It was a lack of respect. Do you follow my podcast? Really? Come on, man. So, I mean, some people are probably like, yo, I hope he never plays again. Okay. If that's your opinion, then that's fine. I would love to see a public apology. I would love to see behavior that is exemplary if he gets back into the league. Maybe he won't. I don't know. This podcast is not doing fantastic. I just don't understand where he was at that particular moment. And losing is not an excuse for bad behavior. You're a professional. That's why they're paying you, to deal with adversity. So I felt bad for her, but I've been in NBA locker rooms and a lot of different things happen. I'm sure that wasn't the first time that maybe she's dealt with some strife. It's hard functioning and just doing your jobs in professional environments like that. Be it the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, hockey, wherever it is. Stuff happens. But I was shocked by that because I generally like Pat Bev's narrative. Not many guys his size, 6'1", coming from where he comes from, plays 13, 14 years in the NBA. And secondly, the fact that he gets hired every year says that people like him. There's something endearing about him. That was not a good example of who I think he probably is. So I want to see him get a chance to right that wrong. But like Vicky said, I mean, that was bully behavior. And maybe he never will get another opportunity. I have no idea. All right, let's get some of your comments about how you feel about that. SG says, I don't know what Pat Beverly was thinking after he threw the basketball at a fan, and you can't be doing things like that as a professional athlete. You're right. Vicky says, Pat Beverly is a bully. I don't like his game. Yeah, his game is, pretty much done. Aussie Rules, glad you are calling out Pat Bev. Yes, she was just trying to do her job. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Aussie Rules, I'm a guy that believes in respect. It's unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Particularly when you've made the kind of money. I don't care how much money you've made. It's never acceptable to disrespect another human being. Never. Never. It's not. I'm not performing. Some people try to perform when the cameras are on and let me act like I'm a good guy. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when the cameras are off. And it's funny, like because I mentioned some of those golfers who could not remember a one-syllable name, Frank, right? But I did meet a couple of golfers who I became somewhat friendly with, and we started to develop a relationship. And one of the things that I will never forget is that after 9 holes, they would go to like the snack bar. One guy, I don't know if his name was Mr. Stein, I don't remember his name, but he would always buy me a hot dog. I mean, I guess like kosher hot dogs, these things were so good. He'd always buy me a hot dog, sauerkraut, mustard, a drink, give me some time to eat before we start our second 9. I should be so happy whenever I had the opportunity to work with him. So I'm not lambasting everybody because that was not the case. But what I'm saying is that as a 13-year-old, I had to fight for my humanity at that particular point. When I don't know if I really had any room to do that. They could have fired me on the spot. But I thought it was important that I did that. And made me think about what that producer had to endure in talking to Pat Bev, which is not cool. SG, when I was playing basketball with friends at the gym and they made me so angry that they wouldn't pass the ball to me, then in fits and acts of rage, I took my mouthpiece out and threw it. Yeah, you're not ready to come on in the dungeon show if you're doing that. Come on, man. Keep your mouthpiece in. You know, show them that you deserve to get the ball, right? And don't throw any temper tantrums. I'm joking, by the way. Okay. Simple. Need to give respect. Earn respect. Word up. Jimmy says, I agree. I also think sometimes it's hard to keep your composure at very high levels of competition. Really? Jimmy, you think so? That's what makes you a pro. If you can't do that, then you're not really a pro. It's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard. But I don't buy this, I'm so intense that I need to, do some stuff that is totally out of character. I don't, it makes me think. This is what it makes me think about. At some point in your sports career, your coach or coaches could have either allowed that behavior to happen or nip it at the bud. That was unacceptable for my coaches. Unacceptable. My coaches would never allow any of us to do that. Never. So, I don't buy that. I think you have to always. It doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. It doesn't mean, because none of us are perfect. But that should be the goal. The goal should be to de-escalate. And yeah, I know sometimes, like I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I don't like how OG Bobby Portis moves. I don't. I mean, Bobby Portis had a situation a decade ago now, damn near, where he punched somebody in the face, and all of a sudden it's just like, that's like his persona. Oh, he gonna get mad. It's like, dude, you know how much money you costing yourself? I mean, you want that to be your legacy? I don't think so. We have to find a way to deal with stuff appropriately. If Draymond had thrown the ball at a fan, he would be thrown out of basketball for life. Yeah, he can't do that. Remember Pat Bev physically attacked Chris Paul from behind, not face to face. Yeah, that was horrible. Steph Curry threw his mouthpiece at a fan and no, he didn't throw his mouthpiece at a fan. No, he didn't. He did not. He threw it at the floor. He didn't throw it at the fan. He did not do that. Lakers running it down mid. I think what Pat Bev did fine. What? I think what Pat Bev did is fine. If Jordan can punch teammates and everyone says, great, he's a competitor, I don't want to hear anyone else say anything. How about both acts being wrong? What Jordan did by punching his teammates was unacceptable. You know, did he get away with it? Yeah, he did. But I don't know if his teammates looked at him in a light that maybe he probably wanted them to after that situation. I don't know. But I don't think that one bad act rationalized another one. I don't think so. And I don't think what Pat Bev did to the producer was fine. And I'm on record as saying I like Pat Bev. I've liked his narrative, but I did not like that. That was disrespectful. Put yourself in that situation. If you were the producer, how would you feel? Thank you for watching the program. I appreciate you, brother. If you are a brother or a young lady, I'm not quite sure based on your tag. My name is Frank Red. This is the In the Dungeon show. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. Man, this thing goes by so fast. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm excited to watch my New York Knicks take on the Indiana Pacers tomorrow at the Garden. It's going to be rocking. The Denver Nuggets get an opportunity to redeem themselves after losing game 1 of their Western Conference semifinal series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they're going to have to play. Minnesota has a lot of confidence now. They're really good. And who's to say they can't win 2 games in Denver? Because they can. And all this dynasty talk with Denver is just, it can be turned on its head really, really quickly. So I want to see the adjustments that Michael Malone makes. I want to see the veteran players come out and put their best foot forward to see if they can even up this series. Let's go out the Aussie rules before we get out of here. For me, playoffs less interesting without Stephen Curry. Yeah, you know what, Aussie? I thought that for like the first week or so. I did. I had that same feeling. And then I started watching the Dallas Mavericks play. And I started watching Kyrie. And then I started watching my Knicks. And I think the networks felt like you and I did. But they're coming around now. They're coming around. In a meaningless Game 7, eyeballs were glued on Paolo Banchero, on Donovan Mitchell. So the league has to go on. And I think it is, So I want to see the Warriors in the playoffs next year. But so far, so good. I'm enjoying what I'm watching, which is weird to me because I didn't think I'd be in this position. All right, Lakers. Lakers running it down mid. I think the league is all bully ball now. Just get a bunch of 6'8" to 7-foot guys and just bully the other team. Now, give an example of that. What do you mean by that? I'm going to try to give you an opportunity to respond because I want to hear you expound on that, all right? SG says, I'm bringing out my inner Steph Curry when I took out my mouthpiece out of my mouth and threw it. Okay. Thank you for a great show again. Hope you have a great week. Vicky, it's always a pleasure, and I thank you for your support. And I also thank you for your knowledge, man. Just kind of like, getting in here and sprinkling, the listeners and myself with your knowledge. We don't have time now, but I can't wait to kind of talk to you about the WNBA, what's transpiring in that league. Awesome. Caitlin Clark had 22 her first game. This is going to be the best WNBA season in the history of the league. And they've been around for 20 some odd years. So I'm excited about it. And I know you talk about all sports, but I certainly want to get your perspective on that, knowing that you've been a referee before and just a basketball fan. So I look forward to talking to you about that. All right. Physical wear down the other team. Jokic was gassed playing against 3 7-footers. Yeah, but, you want to win a championship, Lakers. That's what you got to do. I think he can do it. He's going to have to show. People say he's the best player in the world. Then go prove it. Thank you. Thank you for checking the show out. Subscribe to the show. All right? Subscribe to it. I haven't mentioned it before. Hit the like button. If you like the show, hit that like button, man, because it certainly helps the show. Aussie Rules. Frank, what are some of your fab basketball shoes? Some of the Jordans I like. I never really wore them. I played on the NIT All-Star team a long time ago, and it was when the Jordans were just kind of getting together, and Nike used to have a factory in Korea, and we were in Korea, and we all got Jordans. We all got Jordans. The black and red Jordans. I had a pair of those. Those were awesome. Aesthetically, I like the Kevin Durant's. I like the Kevin Durant's. Those feel good on my feet. But I'm not like a person who's going to spend a whole lot of money on sneakers. I've never been that person, But the black and red Jordans I like, and I like the Kevin Durant's. I've also had some Kobe's as well. But I wouldn't say that I'm a sneaker buff, if you will. I also like some of the Adidas shoes that they have. So, wish I was more of a sneaker aficionado, but I'm not. Vicky says, can't wait for the WNBA Warriors team. Yeah. Did you ever wear the old Chuck Taylor's Converse? I still wear Chuck Taylors. Those are my favorite shoes. Canvas Converse, those are my go-to. That's what I wear. I love them. That's what I wear. Listen, the idea of wearing sneakers that cost $50, $60 and still look cool, I'm all over that. That's what I wear, dude. Chuck Taylors, nice pair of jeans, a t-shirt, I'm good. And it's good to see young people kind of getting on board with that. In high school, wore Adidas All-Star. Yeah, those are nice. Those are real nice. Thoughts on Nika Mule playing on the Seattle Storm? I just watched a video last night on Nika. I am a major fan of hers for a lot of different reasons. Great player, seemingly a great person, defensive, tough player, beautiful. She has it all going. But unfortunately, because of the WNBA salary cap, it looks like she's not going to be able to play for Seattle this year, which would be very disappointing. So she might actually get cut this year. And if she gets cut by Seattle, I got to think another WNBA team is going to pick her up. So wherever Nika Mule goes, I'm going to be a fan of hers. No doubt about that. Hit the like. Thank you, Aussie Rules. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. Vicky, you give me the last one. We can get out of here. Did you ever get to see King Arthur, the dog movie? No, I did not. Is it still in theaters? I did not see it. I need to, based on your recommendation. I saw Challenges. Did you see Challenges with Zendaya? I thought it was a great vehicle for her, for her talent. What a talented girl, talented young woman. Let me look at the King Arthur thing, the King Arthur dog movie, to see if it's still out there, and I will check it out. You all right? All right, everybody, let me get out of here. Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. Hit the like button. Follow me on X at Big Frank Red, and maybe I'll surprise you and come on tomorrow night. At some point during the week, I definitely will. Until that time occurs, everybody have a great start to your week, and good night. Take care, everybody. Peace.